Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6 o'clock on Monday, September 23rd. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Monticello District 82 School Board. Please rise as you are able and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The meeting is hereby called to order. We need to approve our tentative agenda as our agenda for the evening, and I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Melissa Curtis, seconded by Casey Root. Is there any change or discussion of the agenda? Finding none, we'll, those who are approving, please say yes. Those, yay? I don't know what I'm saying. All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved, 6-0. Moving on to citizens' comments, we don't have any this evening. Moving on to fiscal stability, we move these items, which is personnel matters, bill summaries, our credit card expenditures and wire transfers for the month. We approve them as a consent agenda. Members of the board receive all of these documents ahead of time. Is there any questions or further discussion on any of the consent agenda items? Finding none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Melissa Curtis, seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. And consent agenda passes 6-0. Collaborative connections is our item number 6 this evening. This is consists of our donations from our very generous community partners. We're very blessed to receive donations from the community on an almost monthly basis, and Superintendent Olson is going to give us more information on these particular donations for this evening.
Yeah, just one tonight. Cub Foods has brought forth boxes of student supplies for students in need. And so one of our great community partners just did an employee drive in order to bolster supplies for students that need them. And their designated spot that they wanted to bring these was to Pinewood Elementary.
And we do have a resolution for acceptance of gifts.
Therefore be resolved by the Monticello School Board number 882 to gratefully accept the following donations. Cub Foods, 6 boxes of school supplies for Pinewood students that need school supplies.
Second.
Seconded by Melissa Curtis, resolution read by Jeff Hegle. All those in favor of accepting the donations from Cub Foods as reported, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Now we're on to something really wonderful. We are here this evening for item B under agenda item number 6 to welcome our student representatives for the 24-25 school year. We do have 3 student representatives this year that are going to rotate, as I understand, 2 at a time on a monthly basis. So this evening we have Cohen Schlangen. Did I say that correctly? Schlangen and A.T. Thompson, and we'd like to welcome you to the podium, and they have a report for us this evening.
All right, I'll start off. My name's Cohen Schlangen. I'm a senior at Monticello High School. My course load this year involves AP Calc BC, AP Physics 2, CIS Money Management, and CIS University Writing, to name a few. I'm also a member of the National Honor Society and was a member of last year's Junior Honor Guard. I'm also a captain of the 2024 Monticello football team. I played quarterback until my recent injury. I'm not gonna lie, it feels weird to be the oldest in the building now. I mean, I miss a lot of my senior buddies from years past, you know, growing up with them. It feels weird to be the alpha dog in the school now. I'm not gonna lie. I was asked by the principals to be a school board representative, and it interested me because I want to be able to talk in front of a large group setting. I wanted to see the behind the scenes to the school board And I also wanted to add a little bit to my resume. Next year, my plan is to attend NDSU to study civil engineering. The third member of our group of student representatives, Willa Sharmer. She's not present today, but she will be involved in future meetings.
I'm Aloysius Thompson. I'm a senior this year, and my course load also consists of mainly college courses, such as classes as AP Calc, CIS University Writing, CIS Econ, CIS Psychology, CIS Lit, and more. I am also a member of the National Honor Society, and I also had the pleasure to be a participant on last year's Junior Honor Guard. I also have had the opportunity to be a Magic leader for the past 3 years, and this year I have taken the initiative to join the yearbook club. When it comes to the adjustment of becoming a senior, I do find it somewhat pleasant, but at the same time worrisome. Just, random nerves. And yeah, I enjoy the feeling of being accomplished and being able to set an example for underclassmen, while also representing Monty when it comes to taking up leadership opportunities, such as this one, throughout the school, as well as outside of school. After graduation, I aspire to attend a four-year university, specifically University of St. Thomas, in hopes to obtain a BSN degree, which is a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing degree. And by doing that, I'll just continue doing what I'm doing, stay focused, and yeah, overall, my time at Monty has shown me an excessive amount of leadership skills, along with growth, which I'm grateful.
Go first with the start of the school year.
Yeah. All right. On the agenda, start of the school year, being new start times, class meetings, and cell phone update. So far, I believe the school year has gone well for our entire building. In regards to the new start times, I believe the adjustment has been successful and taken well by many of the students. In my case specifically, the later start times have given me the opportunity to get a lot done in the morning prior to getting ready for school. There's a better feel to start the school of the morning, not so rushed. During the first week of school, we had our class meetings, which sets the foundation for the school year, along with its expectations, which ties into the cell phone update we had recently, which initially wasn't taken well by many of the students. But like many things, as time has progressed, students' opinions has changed slightly. And to move on to our second agenda, freshmen, how are they adjusting? From my perspective, I believe the freshmen have adjusted well to the environment of high school. Based on what I've observed, they have represented Monty well to the best of their extent. During homecoming week, they showed an immense amount of school spirit, as well as far as participating in Spirit Week, going all out and representing their team for Ironman volleyball, and overall inserting themselves well into the student body. They have also seemed to be doing well finding their classes, as they have the least amount of tardies for the school year. While majority of the class seems to find and take things well, there are some who tend to find it difficult navigating through the school, or that may be finding a class, following the adjustment to having phones, as well as behavioral issues. But that's all normal and will change soon.
All right, time for the third piece of our agenda is about homecoming. So this year's homecoming, as many of you know, it's different. It's during the second week of school, the first full week of school. And I gotta say, we did a pretty good job this year. It was early this year because of the football schedule, and we only have one Friday night home game when all the students are in school. So that was kind of different. Homecoming week was during the first week of school, and overall, the students felt it was great to have it the second week because people are starting to get into classes and routines. And, the beginning of the school year, it's a lot of adjusting, a lot of new things, and it's kind of nice to have something exciting right at the beginning of the school year. Get you something to look forward to, and then your classes just go by easier. A couple of my highlights, as well as fellow classmates, Ironman volleyball was really fun this year. I had a brother participate, I had a ton of friends participate, and it was just great atmosphere. I loved how we got some student sections going. It was just great. This year as a senior, I appreciated the build-up to the football game more. You know, kind of just hitting the emotions, you know, as a senior, no more homecoming after this year. So it kind of just feels good to have that homecoming game. It's a great opportunity. I also enjoyed the dress-up days. So Monday was come as you are, pajama day. Tuesday was Grill Dad versus Soccer Mom, and I got to admit my buddies and I did a pretty good Grill Dad impersonation that day. Wednesday was Hawaiian Day. Thursday was Class Color Day, where each grade had an assigned color and they wore it. And Friday was Magic Spirit Day. And I always love that Friday Magic Spirit Day because everyone participates. And it doesn't matter who you are, what grade you're in, everybody's wearing the red, white, and black. There was also a lot of home events students could attend to support each other that week of homecoming. Obviously, the Ironman volleyball, a couple different volleyball events. There was multiple different sporting events. And then homecoming coronation took place Friday morning at a pet fest in the field house. Expressing this week's events, watching different grades and friends play Ironman, and having a great group of students on the homecoming court was really special. I mean, I grew up with a lot of those people on the homecoming court. It was great to see just how that unfolded. And I also enjoyed the idea of having raffles and drawings for students who attended home sporting events. I was one of the numerous people to win a $10 gift card. I got one to Chick-fil-A. After the Friday Pet Fest, there was a school tour and parade with the royalty, pet band, captains, and fall athletes that went to the 3 elementary schools and middle schools. The goal is to create some kind of school spirit and make connections between the high school students across the district. Personally, I thought that was really fun. I mean, giving all the little kids high fives. We had to put a bunch of hand sanitizer on afterwards. You know, you never know what you're going to find there, but it's pretty cool getting a bunch of high fives from the little kids. But personally, the highlight of my week was obviously watching my football team win 29-0 on homecoming. I mean, that's pretty special, especially against their number 8 team. Shut them out 29-0 at home. It kind of just speaks volumes to the team we got and the kind of school spirit we had. The student section was louder than can be. Just a great atmosphere, and those are the kind of nights I live for on the football field. That's all we got.
Thank you very much. It's my understanding that part of your experience as a student representative this year will be connecting it to some of your classwork. Is that true? Can you talk about that just a little bit?
So, you say connecting it to our classwork. So, we are doing, AT and I are partnering up. So, we are both in CIS University Writing, and we're partnering up for an ethnography project. An ethnography, you go around, you research a small group, and this is our small group that we're going to research just to get a little deeper insight into, just to understand a little more into behind the scenes of it.
So yeah, similar to what Cohen said, we'll be doing an ethnography, basically what correct me if I'm wrong, what anthropologists do, in which you inject yourself within a culture or subsetting that you know or you're not familiar with, that you want to know, and you approach it basically blindsided, and you learn it from a point of view in which you're gaining knowledge and you're also gaining experience. So as we're here today, we're going to connect that with our project, as Ms. Kartak likes to call it. And yeah, that's how we're just going to navigate through it. We're going to jot down some notes and just go through it.
Thank you for explaining that. So the school board members get to be kind of the rats in the cage, so to speak, for that. Does any of the other school board members have any comments or questions for our new representatives?
No, I'm really glad to hear that. Welcome. And I invite you to even stay for some of our work sessions. And we probably have some other meetings too that you'll be invited to come and observe as well, so you can see kind of the behind the scenes as well to what we do.
Just a couple of things that I saw happened to be last week, and I was in one of your classes that I got to observe both of you and see the high quality and caliber of people that you are. AT spoke about the cell phones, and upon entering the classroom, he had a pass in hand, and before he went and gave it to his teacher, he put his cell phone in the pocket and just went and sat down. And I just said that it just looked so awesome and so professional how he handled himself and just did that. It was already part of the culture. And Cohen is just, I remember I got to speak a little bit on relationships during that class and civil engineering. My brother-in-law is a civil engineer, and being able to speak in front of groups like this is a skill that he didn't practice until after college. You're giving yourself a leg up on that. So that's awesome leadership to go grab that yourself. So awesome job, guys.
All right, thank you.
Also, as part of your membership as a student with our school board, you'll be receiving information from Devaney related to access to the Minnesota School Boards Association and all of the behind the member information on that website. And there's just a huge variety of webinars and all sorts of information about running for office and things that might be helpful to you as you move through your project. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that you were going to have that opportunity as well. So, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to our agenda, teaching and learning item number 7 for this evening. We're very happy to welcome back this year our Northwest Talent Academy leaders, Leanne Gertz and Janine Severson. They had an absolutely magnificent summer with NWTA. I was very, very lucky to get to spend a whole day with them, watching the students from so many different school districts that were so enthusiastic and very well behaved during their classes. So welcome to the school board meeting, and we're excited to hear what you have to recap for us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us again. We're very excited to be back. It's always good to get out and show what we're so proud of, and let you experience just a little bit of it and ask questions if you have any. So most people have heard of NWTA, but if you haven't, it's Northwest Talent Academy. It is a collaborative that we started 7, 8 years ago was the thought bubble of it, and it has grown immensely. We are a collaborative of 10 local school districts that offer summer programming for gifted and talented students within those 10 districts.
As we go throughout the presentation, you'll see pictures of snippets of our classes just to give you an idea of what goes on. One of the questions we get is who can teach at NWTA? Well, anybody who has a passion for gifted and talented students and any hobbies that they may have, and reaching those kids to further enhance their education over the summer, and whoever is willing to teach over the summer as well after a hard school year. Who can attend? Any student ages 2 to 8 in our collaborative district who are invited, and those invites are chosen by the teachers, by the admin. Here in Monticello, it can vary district to district. In Monticello, we use COGAT testing, but we also have teacher recommendations. And if a student is excelling in art or music, then they will also receive an invite for our classes.
We ran for 4 weeks this past year. We've teetered between 4 and 5 weeks over the years. Our morning classes were 3 hours, and the afternoon were also 3 hours, and then we had the full day classes.
We have a lot of numbers to go over. This was our 6th year. We now have 10 districts. It just started out as Monticello, and to grow to 10 districts is huge and amazing. We did run for 4 weeks. We had 23 total teachers, 18 of whom were returning, which I think says a lot about the program and wanting to come back. And we had 6 assistants this year to help in the classrooms.
Some more numbers. We offered 25 different classes, and there were 55 sections. Some of those classes doubled. We had over 850 enrollments with just shy of 400 individual students across all 10 districts.
These are my favorite parts, the graphs. You can see the number of classes since our inception in 2018. You'll notice this year the number of classes decreased, but the student population increased. So we just had larger classes this year.
And that also has to do with how many teachers want to teach and what kind of proposals we get and teacher availability within the summer. So we didn't have as many classes to offer, but there were still as many students that wanted to participate. So this kind of goes over some of the student numbers that we had. You can see that the numbers of enrollments keep moving in the right direction.
So this is the student count by week. We couldn't start until June 17th this year with the late end of the school year. So typically we see the first 3 weeks in June as our highest rate of attendance. And by the 24th of June, we had almost 300 students in our program, which was just amazing. And then you'll see in July it tends to curve downwards a little bit. So we just ask that you keep us in mind when you develop your summer planning or your school calendars for the next year. We do need about 2 to 3 days to set up the office, to have teachers come in from districts to set up. So if we don't finish school until that Friday of June, then we can't start NWTA until later in June.
And it also depends on the other 10 districts. We always make sure that they're out of school as well, so that we're not overlapping when they're still in classes. We did have one instance, extra school days 2 summers ago, and Elk River had an extended school year, and their superintendent actually gave students a pass that said, if you're going to attend classes here, we'll count that and you won't be marked as absent. It'll count towards your school year, which was pretty fantastic. Student grade levels, as you can see, our younger population is our biggest population that comes to classes. By the time they hit 5th, 6th, 7th grade, they're having more activities that they're involved in, sports, things like that. So the 2nd and 3rd grade population is our biggest. Moving forward, it always varies district to district, like Leanne was saying, on how students are nominated and invited, things like that. For us, with the change in how services are for the elementary students with the Gift and Talented program in our district, these numbers do have potential to change and change drastically. We're not quite sure yet, so we're going to keep an eye on that and kind of watch what that's going to look like as the year unfolds and what we have going forward.
And it has been really cool to see those kids who started 6 years ago to continue on, and you'll see a couple of those in our videos in a little bit. District by the numbers by the district, we have Monticello having the most enrollments, and you'll notice that the area schools, Elk River, STMA, and Buffalo, Hanover, Montrose, also have a great showing. We did try busing for the first time this year to offer it, but we just didn't have enough interest, to try to reach those in Annandale fully to make it more accessible for them. But we just didn't have that interest this year. The unknown are either registrations who did not answer that question of which district they come from, or we also have some homeschoolers, whether they started in a district and moved to homeschool, or they provide us information to prove their acceptability to our program.
Scholarships, we are fortunate enough to have a wonderful community, as you all know, with donations that the school district gets as well. Rotary, VFW, and the American Legion gave very generously over this last year, and so we were able to have quite a few scholarships.
And this is a representation of the scholarships through districts. Each district is responsible for their own scholarships, and we were able to have 13 in our district this year.
The goal overall would be that this program is a self-sustaining program, and as we continue to have good, profitable years, that money will go back into the program as scholarship opportunities for any of the 10 districts that are within, because we understand that not all districts have support within their communities, like we are lucky enough to have with the ones that gave for our scholarships. What don't we do?
Figured it was easier to say what don't we do than
Yeah.
what do we get accomplished.
We don't do a lot of sports. That is one thing that we don't do a ton of. They do ask for some sports, but there are a lot of opportunities through community ed and things like that. But other than that, if you can think it and a teacher can imagine it and has a passion for it, there really isn't anything that we won't try. So.
This is just a reflection of some of the students that we had give us how they felt about the program.
Three years.
3. Okay, attendance, I have attended every year since second grade, maybe not during COVID years, obviously. Same.
2 years.
2.
This is my first year. This is my first year.
This would be my 3rd year. This would be my 2nd class. You get to make new friends, you learn new things, and you get to pick your classes.
Because it's fun.
Getting to meet a lot of new people.
Because I have a lot of friends in the classes I can vibe, and I like this camp because it just has more of a variety of things you can do.
It's a fun experience to kind of go with your friends, learn some new things, kind of find some new hobbies. Favorite part is that we get to meet new friends and just enjoy fun times throughout the summer.
Making friends at NWTA, and I like all the classes.
The ones where you get to make food, I guess.
Yay.
Probably, I really like doing science.
The classes are fun. There's lots of creativity.
The classes are fun. Cakeology.
This one or edible foods.
Cakeology. This would be Adventures with Miss Rosa, but I do love all the other classes equally.
There's a Greek mythology one that I did back when I think I was going into 5th or 6th grade.
I can't say that, they're all too good.
Included on teams or chosen. So to have these friendships formed with like-minded peers is just amazing and fantastic.
It's not something that you set out to do. It just is a reflection of what they get out of the classes, which is fantastic. As far as parent feedback, we always ask for parent feedback at the end of each course. You can read what that parent feedback says right there. That's, they're all very thankful. It's not always sunshine and roses. We do get negative parent feedback, which we are thankful for because it helps us monitor and adjust. If we don't know that there's a problem or that something isn't being communicated in one way or that they're not understanding something, if we don't know that, we don't have an opportunity to make it better. So we welcome that feedback that we get from families, but it is historically always very much on the positive end. So this is from the parents rating the program overall. It's very high to good and needs improvement. This one was rating the satisfaction of the specific classes that your child took. Again, the excellent rating was the highest. And then the satisfaction with the instructor, again. Sometimes we had just where if they didn't understand, the instructor was sending something out when they were communicating with families in an email versus Seesaw or another form of communication that maybe a specific district was used to with their home district. It just took a little bit of time, but then again, that was something where it gave us an opportunity to make things better. And that's all for this year. It was a great year. I couldn't do it without Leanne and Jeremiah and the support that they give, and the support from the other people in the collaborative that work for each of the different 9 districts that we work with, so.
Thank you very much. A question and a comment.
Yes.
Comment first, I don't know about the rest of the audience, how many people are aware, but until you guys started this program here, the nearest opportunity for GT summer programming was Maple Grove. So that's just remarkable what you've accomplished in the last 6 or 7 years, and the number of students that we've attracted from our own district and other districts, and that the program is self-sustaining. So I just really congratulate you for that. And along with that, just a question, are there any kids that are turned away because it's full or there's a waiting list or anything like that?
It depends on the class. Cakeology, unfortunately, yes. We only have 1 kitchen space available, and there's often multiple classes that would like to use the kitchen space, whether it's an entire class that has to do with cooking or using that kitchen space, or it's just like Stacy Rosa, one of the classes that she teaches, they use the kitchen a couple times during their course. But that's part of the facilities, and, you know, we've had conversations on, well, do we try and have some at our middle school because there's another kitchen there? Do we, you know, but then with that, the logistics of we need to have some sort of administrative supervision also there. We can't have a teacher by themselves, you know, all the things that go into that, the logistical aspect, we just haven't quite figured that out yet. But we are definitely well on our way to being creative. If we need to get toaster ovens and bring those in, we work with the custodial staff to say, okay, can we use these kinds of things? What can we do to help make that, if it's a hot plate, if that's all they need, or they need access to a microwave, we try our best to provide what we can so that we can get as many of those classes so we don't have as many waiting lists or turned away.
So you're not on a space constraint, it's just an equipment constraint?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we do share, the high school has many programs throughout the summer. So we do try to stick to one kind of area of the building, just because we know there are other programs around, and we haven't had any issues at this point of there aren't enough classroom spaces for us. It's more the equipment.
And our teachers have been incredibly flexible with us. We had a multiplication mania class that was literally, there were 20 kids on the waiting list, and that teacher was willing to open up another section in the afternoon. A coding class, again, had another classroom full on the waiting list.
48
and
students.
48 students. So we were able to bring in another teacher, and they were able to co-teach. And Jeremiah is also amazing at, if there's a specific class that's full, you know, saying, oh, they might be interested in this class, or they might be interested in this class. So he has been phenomenal, helping us juggle all those registrations.
And with running the class, is it only teachers that we have in the district that are running the classes? Is it teachers from other districts, or is it just community members that are volunteering to be the teachers?
We have Monticello teachers. We've got teachers from many of the other districts.
Okay.
And a lot of times it's word of mouth. So if you've taught with us and you're from a different district, you'll talk to other people within your district, and they spread the word that way. Leanne and I have also been to many schools from the other districts where we'll meet in the media center, and anybody after school that day that wants more information or is curious about what it would be like to teach with this program, we go, and it's kind of a Q&A session where we answer the questions that they might have, give examples, process through with them. I've got this idea. I'm super passionate about this. How could I turn that into a class? And so that's when we step in and have those conversations on what that might possibly look like for them. So.
Any additional comments from the board? Questions? Well, thank you so much, and we hope to hear from you next year.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah. Well, moving ahead on our agenda, we have with us the Director of Student Services, Sarah Welk, who's going to give us a comprehensive school safety briefing. Welcome, Sarah.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for having me here today and talking about school safety. School safety is essential because it ensures that every student and staff member can learn and work in an environment free from fear and harm. When we feel safe, we can focus on our education, creativity, and personal growth. So I just want to be able to go through the 6 tenets of a successful safety plan this evening, showcase that to you guys. The first one will be systematic training to be able to educate and prepare. Staff should be well-versed in how to prevent, protect against, mitigate, respond to, and recover from incidents. And we start doing that by starting with our annual training. Staff have to take this annual training and watch this video prior to the school even starting, and this includes all employee groups. And then building principals do a really great job on taking the lead and doing safety protocols and procedures in their staff meetings as the week of workshop. And then practice drills authentically. This is something that we take a high priority in doing. We already have had bus evacuations, fire drills, and started the lockdown drills at all grade levels. And provide safety and security posters to every classroom. These have been updated. I'll go into that a little bit further, but these have been updated. They were just given to our admin team last week and will be replaced and put up spaces throughout the district in every building. The next is preventative safety measures. We limit school access to one secure entrance and enforce staff and visitor badges. So we use the Raptor system, and so we make sure that if visitors come through the building that their identification has gone through, and make sure that if there's anything that is red flag, that we're aware of it to make sure that our security is safe and secure for anybody that comes into our buildings. Clear and well-communicated crisis plans. These were also updated, and this was shared out to our admin team last week. These are placed in every single building, in the principal's building, and also in our admin go bags, which I'll also explain in a little later. And then our school infrastructure improvements. As we are doing drills, we constantly are working through what's going well, what improvements can they make. You hear principals talk about it all the time on the walkie-talkies. Maybe FIAD teachers aren't hearing something through the intercom outside. So they're constantly working and getting feedback from those staff members. School resource officers. In Monticello, school resource officers from Wright County Sheriff's Department assist in district buildings with security education, promoting safety, preventing incidents, and investigating delinquent and criminal behavior. We are fortunate to have Mike Nordine at the middle school, Jason Post up at the high school, and we also work really closely with Sergeant McGill, who oversees the SRO department for Wright County. Our law enforcement partnerships, in addition to SROs, you'll see that we are part of the Wright County Safe Schools Committee. That meets throughout the year to help foster a safe and healthy school culture. And this entails a lot of different agencies through Wright County and Human Services, not just the Sheriff's Department, but also probation. So it really brings everybody together in our county. So the next would be threat assessment teams, the crisis teams. You'll see every building or every campus employs an interdisciplinary team of trained professionals that convene regularly to identify, evaluate, classify, and address potential threats. They do this quarterly, and these teams review procedures and protocols. He also shared these updates with Superintendent Olson, and then he also shares that information back with you guys, so you are seeing that they're constantly reviewing the procedures in their buildings. Next is the parent and student information, critical information systems, where families can find information during a crisis. You will find this on our website. Under families, you'll see our emergency procedures. So I have it on paper, but you can look on the website and you'll see that it gives them parents on what to do, what not to do. It gives them information to define the difference between a secure mode and active threat response, and also provides the vocabulary of what, so students and families have common language of what we're using in school. So this is also shared through Mr. Olson's newsletter. I know building principals also share this information through newsletters as well. Have a plan. We communicate ahead of time to families regarding what they should do in a school emergency situation. Again, this is shared on our website through our newsletters. And then just making sure that parents are doing their part and making sure that their emergency contact information is updated, consume district's emergency protocols, and follow directions in the event of an emergency. And we hope that never happens, but we need to be prepared to make sure that we're safe and ready to go. Our 24-25 focus areas, you will see that the start of the year protocols, as I've shared before a little bit ago, we have staff annual trainings. This is a safety video that was made by Wright County SROs, and this is something that, again, all of our staff members are watching before the school year starts. This is part of our HR onboarding process. So whenever there are substitutes, or whether it's the beginning of the school year, anywhere during the school year process, everybody is able to watch this video to know what our safety protocols are. Staff badges, everybody has a staff badge. On that backside, you'll see that there is a message. So everybody is able to call a lockdown at any time to be able to have that consistent message. Because we have itinerant staff that go between buildings, this way we're consistent and know what that language is. Student trainings, like I said, we've already had a bus evacuation to get them started at the beginning of the year. We have to do 5 fire drills, 5 lockdowns, and then also in the spring we do the severe weather drill as well. Our focus areas this year, as I've shared, updated the district crisis plan. That is in our admin's hands that was shared last week. And then also our nuclear evacuation plan. We spent a significant amount of time with FEMA and Homeland Security to go through that last summer. And so we are making sure that that information, as we have different people that come in and out of our buildings, that those phone numbers and the switching of people in our buildings are always updated. So everything's up to date. We are fortunate to be able to get a grant. And so working with Jason Borgstrom, the Director of Technology, he was able to get some cameras updated and provided that training this summer during our admin retreat day in July. And as I said, those updated emergency classroom posters have been updated, and they will be in every space across the district. These posters are the same of what you have seen, but it now will include the word hold. And this will mean that you stay in your room or your area. And this could simply mean just stay in your room because maybe a student is having a tough time and we're just needing that space and giving them the space that they need to maybe regulate themselves. Maybe someone got sick in the hallway and we just want to give the custodians time to clean it up. It's just a simple hold, doesn't mean anything is a huge threat, but just making sure that we're giving space in the hallways. So. Next, you'll see the I Love You Guys. It's a program through Wright County, and this is something that we had talked about when we went to the Safe Schools meeting this summer that is county-wide. It's a program that is free. It's used in more than 50,000 schools, organizations, and agencies nationwide. This is research-based and proven, and this is something that Wright County is adopting and encouraging all schools in Wright County to use. And so again, that we're consistent in Wright County. These are also available in English and Spanish across our district. And as I shared, admin go bags. So these admin go bags, this was the brainchild of Superintendent Olson, and just wanted to be able to have these available to our admin team, our leaders, in case of an emergency. They have all information that they need in a backpack and they can just grab and go. And so that could be markers, highlighters, it could be a rain poncho because it might be raining outside, flashlight, it's all information, it's our district crisis plans, it's our phone numbers, it's our schedules of every single building and who to contact. So it's readily available to everybody within their building. So, and yes, our level 4 program at the Workforce Center is also getting one because they're off campus as well. So. Our next is reunification efforts. We're having our first meeting October 4th with our building principals to start having that conversation. That's reunification is not just in a nuclear evacuation plan, but it could mean other evacuation opportunities that we might need to have in place. And so this is just being able to talk through this as building leaders knowing what everybody's reunification spot is. We generally know what that is, but it's good to revisit this and knowing across buildings, if there's more than one building that needs to be evacuated, that we know which the left hand and the right hand are doing. And so we're going to be meeting on the 4th. Again, we're doing a training through Wright County the first week of December, second week of December. That hasn't been decided quite yet, but again, it's a training through Wright County that they're providing with the I Love You Guys Foundation and going through their reunification process. And so we'll be sending a team of people to do that. And again, we'll meet afterwards and go through our district procedures, and we'll also include Hoagland's, and then meeting with Homeland Security so they can look through our plans and make sure that they can find any holes and make sure that we are doing what we need to do to keep everyone safe. So, and then lastly, just continued efforts to gather staff questions, scenarios, and then providing those quarterly crisis team meetings. So, and you guys will get those as the year goes on. So. And lastly, resources there, if you guys want to go through and click through anything that I've mentioned tonight, it's linked in, and you can look through all of our district plans, our nuclear evacuation plan, what those posters look like, what the trainings are offered, what that staff video is that was created by the SROs, and what everybody has to watch, including substitutes, as they come throughout our school years, to know that everybody is getting trained the same way and consistently. And then there's the I Love You Guys Foundation website if you guys have questions about that. So, thank you.
Questions from the board for Director Welk?
Is this an appropriate time to ask? You mentioned the whole plan.
Yeah.
So that was for some minor level events.
Yes.
What's the plan if there's a major event? What do we call that?
We'll go into secure mode.
Okay.
We can go into secure mode.
Did you cover it tonight, just making notes and wasn't listening?
We just talked about the difference of knowing between the secure mode and lockdown and evacuation, knowing what that language is. But that is right on our website handout, and it's also on our emergency posters in every building, in all spaces, so. Yeah. Yep.
And I guess it goes without saying that our other off-site location, which is our nature-based, has a very specific detailed set of
They have
the procedures that's just different than our
correct.
and mortar here back on our campus.
Yep.
So,
I
and
just want to say that I appreciate the continual work that goes into safety and security as a district, and that each time we're briefed on this, every single year, there's something new that we're implementing to become safer and better. So I appreciate that.
yeah, I'll add to what Jamie said, you're never done. And every year there's more recommendations or different recommendations. And it is something that we keep close to the vest, the details of exactly what our procedures are, because obviously you don't want to give away your intel to people that might have bad ideas. So from a perspective of the board, we want to reinforce to the community and to the staff and the students that we are on top of this, and we have various different committee meetings regularly about all of the aspects that are entailed with keeping our students safe, and evacuations and reunifications and hardware and software and all the different parts of it together. So I'm very confident with what I've seen. We aren't perfect, but we're certainly making changes out every year and all the time and addressing things moving forward. Do you have anything to that?
I just thought that was a great way to start the year. I find a lot of comfort in having Director of Student Service now in order to keep this as have a point person at the district level. I believe the work at the buildings has been tremendous, but it's also awesome to have somebody organizing that work so that we keep pushing each other to be better and make those improvements. So it's just great to have you in front of everybody to bring that level of comfort through the district and provide that organization so we keep all growing together.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments from the board? Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it. Moving on to our innovation and leadership, we are fortunate this evening to have John Weekly, our Director of Special Education, followed by Jason Borgstrom, our Director of Technology, Terry Woodworth, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, and our Superintendent Eric Olson, going to discuss building and program staff shout-outs, basically kudos and attaboys.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm honored here to give some shout-outs to 2 teams and 1 individual. I wanted to start off in giving a shout-out to our speech practitioners. So this year, due to rising student enrollment as well as a need to rely more on virtual services, we had to ask our speech people to be more flexible than ever, and they've met it with the most positive attitude, professionalism, grace, and just supporting each other through the process. So some individuals that had been in a building for a long time shifted because it was what's best for kids, and we really appreciate that. Additionally, I'd like to support or give a shout out to our level 4 staff. So our staff that are in the programs of Foundations 1, Foundations 2, Rise, and Summit. We asked them to do the impossible. Tuesday of workshop week, we took occupancy of the space. Thursday, we had open house. And so it was all hands on deck, admin assistants, custodial staff, technology, directors, coordinators, licensed staff, nursing. We were all assembling furniture, putting the space together, and got it ready for staff and for students and parents to show up on Thursday. And we were operating on the first day of school. So that is a huge shout out, a big accomplishment, and I appreciate everybody's teamwork in that effort. And then one individual shout out, Megan Jarvis is a teacher at Pinewood Elementary. And every year for I've known Megan for probably 6 or 7 years. I hear the same thing about her. She is helpful to everyone, whether you're special education or regular education. She greets new people with very welcoming attitude. She goes the extra mile to support new people in the building. She triages whenever we have a shortage of staff. She's the go-to person in the building for special education to make sure that a student has a paraprofessional and is constantly adjusting a very complicated matrix of a schedule. And she operates with grace under pressure and meets challenges with a very, very positive attitude. So those are my shout outs for 2 teams and 1 individual. I could give you like a million more people, but I know what my requirements or my time limits were. So.
Thank you, Jason.
You had everybody wondering, Mr. Wakely.
Thank you, John. Welcome, Jason.
Work.
Well, thank you, Chair Ziebarth, Superintendent Olson, and members of the board for allowing us to do this. I think I'm going to be testing my time limits here a little bit, and I am thanking even more people than John here. So I didn't want to point out just one person. I couldn't do it coming off of the summer we had, working through, trying to get ready for the school year. So I'm pointing out quite a few different people. Also, tech is interwoven into so many different aspects of the district that it's difficult to just point to one here. So it may seem like tech's like on an island doing some sort of wizardry, trying to make sure that data automation and Wi-Fi and firewalls and things like that are going strong. But what I wanted to focus on a little bit more was the instructional side too. From an instructional standpoint, our why, so you think about the tech's why, it revolves around the 4-season SAMR. It revolves around students. It revolves around the mission of the district. It revolves around vision of the learner. So that's our why. Yes, if Wi-Fi doesn't work, that's a big problem. But that's not our why. Specifically, the purpose of technology is to provide a transformative learning experience for students. It's to actively engage our students in the learning process. That's the purpose of technology. So, some of the changes this summer, really, really quick. Camera upgrade, phone upgrade, firewall upgrade, 911 system upgrade, intercom upgrade, the adventures moving the co-op. MacBook implementation with Pinewood and Little Mountain staff. iPad implementation for middle school staff. Our mini ISTE conference, which we had over 75 attendees, 20 different presentations. Other training and professional development this summer, we had over 180 people and over 590 hours of professional development provided this summer. So, to thank a whole litany of folks, I want to start with my team, the technology team. In addition to my team, also we had Thor Lemke that was here this summer as an intern. I'd like to thank the integrationists, both our integrationists, and also Mackenzie Mueller's over at Eastview as well. I'd like to thank the building technology committees, the the tech pilot teams, the mini ISTE team, the custodians, the principals, Terry, who's willing to do some things to make sure our custodians and our rest of our staff can put tickets in the same spot, so I appreciate that. Tina, Rob, John and Rachel, and all the folks over at the co-op. Cindy, Eric, and Allison, and everybody on the instructional side. Gary, doing some great things with athletics and technology as well. Specifically, I was just on the phone working on some data things with them. And then finally, in last but definitely not least, is our admin assistants. They do, you wouldn't think of them with technology, but without them, we would be absolutely toast. They're pivotal with technology. So those are all the folks I wanted to thank. Thank you guys for giving me the time.
Thank you, Jason. Next, we have Terry Woodworth, our Director of Buildings and Grounds.
Thanks, everyone. This is really tough to do because we have a great custodial staff, right? Just look at all the work they just did this summer, renovating the buildings, getting them ready for school. But the two that really stick out in my mind, and Jeff, you'd probably agree, right? Dave Phillip and Jason Staw. Anytime I give them a call, they're always, of course, what do you need help with? John, you're talking about getting your building ready, right? I mean, I think it was, 2 days before, and we mobilized Jason and Dave, and they went over there and they put tables together, moved things for them, putting swings together. I think they've been over there 2 or 3 times since school started. They've helped out at Nature Base. We've had a couple incidents out at Nature Base that they've, helped out with. It's just anytime you get a hold of them, they're just always willing to help. Whatever I can do, that's what they say. Whatever I can do to help. It just goes on, and it probably will continue. So again, just a big shout out to Dave Phillip and Jason Staw. So,
Thank you, Terry.
And I might as well just speak right from here because I have a microphone and it works pretty well. So I am going to start out with a shout out for Joel Christian. Joel Christian is a new BA in the district, and I first met him during the new teacher workshop, and a week later he was presenting to Hoagland Transportation for their in-service day. And I received a phone call from Joe Kunkel stating, I don't know who this is speaking right now, but everybody is saying it's the most applicable training we've ever had in our career here at Hoagland's. And so he delivered training that all bus drivers felt like they could absolutely use, and it would impact their lives. And so I just want to give a shout out to Joel Christian for that training he provided. So I heard it once in the morning, and then later we had a luncheon over at Hoagland's, and I walked in, and 2 bus drivers grabbed my arm. So 3 people in one day grabbed my arm to tell me what an amazing trainer Joel Christian is. So I've told him that verbally, but I wanted to bring that shout out here to the school board. And then I also am giving Dave Phillip a shout out because it connects to school safety. I don't have this happen too often, but on Friday, Dave Phillip comes, knocks on my door, and takes me out into the parking lot and says, this car is not one of our cars. And it's about 5:45 in the morning. I'm like, how do you know it's not one of our cars? And he goes, because I know it's not one of our cars. And he said, so I went to the cameras and I watched, and I was able to prove that it's not one of our cars. So we called the Wright County Sheriff, and they did just a check on the car and at what possibilities it might have been. And the sheriff department was able to give us a determination that we are all good. But it just, the video didn't look the best of what was leaving the car and how they were leaving. But then once we got the description of from the Wright County as they looked into it, we were able to give a rationale why. But you're not able to have peace of mind if it isn't for Dave Phillip to start that conversation and recognize a car in a parking lot was not one of ours at 5:45 in the morning. So couldn't be more proud of him as well. Those are my 2 shout outs for today.
Thank you, Superintendent Olson. And coming off of Sarah Wilk's presentation on safety and security, that is very reassuring Safety is not just one person or one committee, it's everybody knowing when something doesn't look right. The old see something, say something. So I just really want to thank you for sharing that story with custodian Dave Phillip, because had that been a bad situation, it's good to know someone was alert so quick. So thank you to Dave Phillip for that. Moving on to item number E, we're going to have Superintendent Olson give us a briefing on Rally to Read.
Awesome. So Rally to Read, a community initiative. We had 2 community meetings. The first meeting being a meeting to call our community action. We invited 50 people across the district, business leaders, school personnel that are connected to literacy, especially early literacy, administration, and instead of the 50 that we invited, 85 showed up. Our second meeting, we had a lot of resources of early childhood presentations that would help guide future work that we could do in the community. So resources, and we had these companies share some of the offerings that they bring to the table. Jen Johnson and Jeremiah Mack are both in the audience here, and those 2 are the most influential people on our committee right now. And so the big committee, you could tell that we have the interest from the big committee, and now it's having a small group of people to make sure that we go connect with different organizations across the town to make sure that the work that the big committee thought we could do, that we feasibly can do it. And you have to have backing of your community. Marla Scherber is a person that is not in the audience right now, but she is a person from the public library that has been at all of our small planning meetings and has been absolutely instrumental in connecting some of the literacy things in the community that we were doing and bringing them to the table, so now that we can expand on them. So the Rally to Read is all about uniting community action over something that's good. And I don't think there's anything better than helping a child read. We think it's the great equalizer in our nation, has been able to learn, and we believe that all children can learn, and we want to help make a system so that every child has resources. So I'm going to describe briefly 3 different committees that we're going to be moving forward with, and then some of the work will be connected back to the committee as we have an October meeting with the community. But the things that we feel we can do this community now, I'll have you scroll down to that first group, Gavin, is the Community Connections team. And this team is taking what Marla was doing at the public library. So she and a group of retired teachers were doing Books for Babies. And Books for Babies is a great program, and it connects a relationship with our center care and Marla Scherber and her group at the public library, and it gives every child a free book and an envelope of resources upon their birth. That's great, but what Marla was telling us is that in that envelope was a coupon for a second free book, and hardly anybody was coming back for that second free book. And so that we know if we have literacy challenges to overcome in a nation, in a state, in a community, we want to try capture and build a system that doesn't forget students who are children who are 0 to 4. And it's not to create reading programs, but it's to create support programs so that the families have the support and resources that they need. So the biggest thing that we're going to do in this committee is we are going to create a partnership with Imagination Library, and Imagination Library is a Dolly Parton group, and it brings one book to every child per month. And so we feel like that age-appropriate book it's taking that foundation that Marla built, and it's growing it to a capacity where children between the ages of 0 to 4 will get a free book every month. And so 48 books by the time they finish being 4 years old. So we're really excited about that partnership that we're going to create. Center Care is still going to be a partner of this one, and so are several Wright County programs. We're going to have to track students in this one, track children using our census, which we already do. We have a census program that tells us about the birth of children from the area, people living in our community. And so anybody who doesn't come through the Center Care system to get signed up through an iPad that's at Center Care and getting their Book for Baby bag at Center Care, we will be able to generate a list. And Wright County says they're pretty excited about taking sheriff cars to go deliver gifts and books and resources to these homes. And so it's a program that other communities have had high success to get your sheriff department out in the community doing fun things in neighborhoods. So we're pretty excited about that partnership that they came forward and have shared that they will excitedly be part of. And then if you go ahead, that's really the foundation of that committee. And then the second committee I just want to talk about is an education and awareness team. Right now, Jen is working on building a cohort of folks, but there are a lot of different places that children can go to during their 0 to 4 years. And so we only, when children are 3 and 4, we are only getting about 50% into our early childhood programs. And we know that there are many great in-home daycares. There's many center daycares. There's many families who have stay-at-home parents or members of their family to take care of their children. Just lots of different options out there. And we want to make sure that we have a cohort to develop some, foundational things that we're doing across the community. And so Jen's going to be building that cohort. And along with the cohort, there'll also be strategies to host parent sessions, whether they're connected to things that we're already doing in our schools. So our elementary, middle school, high school already do lots of amazing events. So in some instances, we'll connect some literacy pieces to those events. And then in other cases, we'll build them right at different organizations across the town. I know that Cargill said that they'd love to host one right in their facility or right at the community center. So now it's them being there and their people. They hire a very diverse background and a real great representation of our community. And so it would be great to help those families be connected to the resources that are best practices for children in their 0 to 4 years. Those are the two main things for that one. I'm just trying to summarize. And then our final strategy will be an Every Kid, Every Day team. And we're going to start to develop some different ways to partner with some organizations that are already going and build upon those. But Minnesota Reading Corps, Early Reading Corps, create some tutoring scenarios, and then also having some adopt a child opportunities, just like we heard from our NWTA. Scholarships are a big part of how you connect resources to all families. And so really making that a big component of this is trying to gain some scholarships, more scholarships for students and families who need that opportunity. So yeah, those are, I think, our biggest pieces of the puzzle. We have partnerships. Some of them are in the works, and I know some dollar amounts that are going to be coming in, and we'll start to see those. So now you'll have a prelude to when those dollar amounts start to come in. You might see one in the next couple of weeks for $7,500 donation is one that I know that's probably coming in first. And then there are other large ones that they're just trying to decide on how best to maximize their giving, utilizing the different programs of their company. So we're going to see this kind of go in a fast way, and then we'll give our committee an update of how we got it pared down to things that we can do, not the brainstorming that we did as a committee the first two sessions. So these are all things that we can do, and we are on course to do now. There is a statewide Rally to Read nonprofit that has been developed, and they had their first fundraiser last week, and Jeremiah and I attended that along with Monica Martin, a Rotarian from town, and it was a very cool opportunity. There were some legislators there. We're trying to really kick this into full gear, both at the statewide level and here in Monty. They're calling us the prototype. You might have read a couple of stories in the Star and Trib, but we're really trying to be innovative. I know that, I believe it's Chan, but there's another community out there that just received funding to do the Imagination Library. So we're not the front car, but we're pretty darn close, and proud of all of our partnerships that I've mentioned here today, and we'll be strengthening those partnerships and relationships over this next year, where I think we'll be in full implementation mode in 1 year. But we're going to start Imagination Library this fall.
Thank you, Superintendent Olson. I'd like to also connect this project to a couple of different things. One is the READ Act passed by the legislature last year. Our elementary teachers in particular have been deeply involved with training and applying a lot of those principles to the way that we teach literacy and reading to our youngest learners. And this program definitely coordinates with that. I also wanted to, you mentioned we may not be in the first car, but we're certainly, leading the traffic behind us. Along with that, our program is so unique that we've applied for submitted a proposal to present it at the State Leadership Conference in January. So we'll be finding out in November if we're approved for that or not. But we certainly think that it's worthy at this point as a model for other districts. So just to connect our literacy goals, our academic improvement goals as a district, the READ Act, and professional collaboration across all of the continuum, I think this program is really exemplary. So moving on to...
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
In terms of goals for financial contribution from the community, do you have a specific one? Did you mention it? I know there's one here for the Rally to Read, but...
Yeah, each one of the committees does have a dollar amount that, is a goal. I took those off right now just because I didn't want to, because we have a pretty lofty goal when it comes to scholarships, and what is the price of preschool?
Okay.
And so if you think if I took the number 20 as a starter and times 8,000, I mean, that's a lofty goal, but we did want to, have some lofty goals in here as well, just because we think literacy is a great equalizer, and if you don't build something, you're just going to be chasing and making it harder for elementary folks and middle school folks to play catch up with academics.
That's awesome. And I do want to do a public shout out to Jen Johnson. She's involved in a lot in our district and helping out so it doesn't go unnoticed. And you gladly take on initiatives like this to make it better for early learners in our district. So thank you.
Any comments or questions from the rest of the board? I'm sorry for rushing that a bit there, Jamie. Okay, moving on. Safe and healthy culture. We're going to be hearing from Tina Burkholder, our Director of Business Services, on our preliminary tax levy. And board members, this is an action item.
All right, so I have our latest preliminary tax levy, was latest as of September 13th. There's probably been a revision or two since then, but haven't been able to get back to it. But overall, the levy is decreasing from the previous year. Our general fund levy is going down, mainly in our voter-approved referendum. We saw larger adjustments in the voter-approved referendum for the inflation adjustment. So they were trying to catch that up based on actual calculations, versus we've seen smaller inflation adjustments in the 25 levy, proposed levy. In our operating capital, we see an increase, and that is mainly to property values increasing, so more is going towards levy and less is coming in through state aid. We've seen a decrease in reemployment or unemployment levy, mainly because we have to estimate what we think our unemployment costs will be. And so previously, 2 or 3 years ago, our unemployment costs were $80,000. Well, then the following year, it was $50,000. I wasn't betting it was going down. So there was an adjustment in that follow-up after you turn in your financial numbers. Community ed is going up a little bit, mainly with the ECFE, Early Childhood Family Education calculations. And then our debt service fund is going down, mainly with the reduction in excess fund balance, because we have to levy 105% of our bond payments. Just in case people aren't paying their taxes, they want to make sure what we levy for is being covered. But they look at our fund balance, and if it gets too high, they give it back to the debt service fund. But I do know, based on the latest calculation, I just looked at the overall total, so I'm not sure again where it's at. It's still going down about a minus 1.16%, or a decrease of 168,000, almost 169,000. But I am recommending that the board approve the levy to the max. That's what the motion would be, versus a set dollar amount, because I think there are some lease levy amounts that we're still missing, and so we don't want to lose out on any of that lease levy revenue that helps pay for our leases. But I don't think it'll go above a zero. I still think overall our levy will be a decrease at the end of the month when everything gets finalized.
Questions for Tina from the board?
When you say, some lease levies are in yet, can you explain that?
Yep, so for example, we have to put in our proposed lease levies in for 25 for this school year, and then we also have to report actuals for last year. I don't see Right Technical's leases in there, and so we paid that last year, so we want to make sure we get that money to pay for those costs.
So right now, when I look at your spreadsheet, it shows even if we levy to the max, we're still going down $194,000, roughly.
Yep.
Any additional discussion from the board? So we have a recommendation for an approval for the property tax levy to the max. And I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Seconded.
Moved by Melissa Curtis, seconded by Jamie Sieben. All those in favor of approving the property tax levy to the maximum as presented, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Now we are going to have Director of Human Resources, Mr. Rob Daniker, with a collection of policies for second reading. Welcome, Mr. Daniker.
Evening, Chair Ziebarth, members of the board, Superintendent Olson, and a collection of policies it is. We have a number of policies for second read tonight. We're going to start with 522. This is a revision of our Title IX sex non-discrimination policy and grievance procedure. The federal guidelines, regulations, what have you, for Title IX changed effective August 1st. The current policy we have in place does not conform with the updated regs on that, and so we're recommending that this be updated tonight. And so the general statement of policy states that the school district does not discriminate on the basis of sex and prohibits sex discrimination in any educational program or activity that it operates as required by Title IX including in employment. And so that's the overview of 522.
I want to pause for just a moment and say, why don't we go ahead, do we want to approve each one of these individually or approve them as a group? Does the board have a feeling on that? Which probably should have asked that ahead of time, but there's so many of them.
I think the last bulk we did as a group.
We did.
Unless one stuck out.
We'll allow the opportunity for discussion after each policy, and then we can always sever them if we need to for the vote.
The next one is an addendum to 522. And so what's different in the 522 and addendum proposal for this evening is that our existing policy 522 is basically a bulk policy. This one separates the essential policy to 522, and then procedures essentially are the 522 addendum. And so the statement here, the school district has adopted these grievance procedures that provide for the prompt and equitable resolution of complaints made by students, employees, and other individuals who are participating or attempting to participate in its educational program or activity, or by the Title IX coordinator alleging any action that would be prohibited by Title IX or the Title IX regulations.
And then I believe with this one, it was to also expedite some of the processes in there, so there wasn't so much, for lack of better terms, red tape in between all the procedural processes, so we can move faster if there's an issue.
Yeah, that's accurate. And so with the new regulations, we may theoretically be able to resolve a Title IX complaint in as little as 1 day. As you state, Board Member Root, the previous policy did have some significant timely practices involved that were embedded into the process.
Because I think it could have been up to 90 days, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the federal government, under the previous version of Title IX, basically they expected that Title IX complaints would be resolved within 90 days. And even moving quickly through that process, it would easily take over 70 days to get through the process. Okay, moving on. All right, the next one is Policy 201. This is the legal status of the school board. So this next series, 201, 202, down through 206, these are part of our review cycle. I should have prefaced with that. So some of these are fairly perfunctory in nature, but have not been reviewed or revised in quite some time. So 201, the purpose here is the care, management, and control of the schools is vested by statutory and constitutional authority in the school board. The school board shall carry out the mission of the school district with diligence, prudence, and dedication to the ideals of providing the finest public education. The purpose of this policy is to define the authority, duties, and powers of the school board in carrying out its mission. Any questions or comments on 201?
No, as I recall, there's no substantial changes. No changes of any kind.
In most of these, there was no, most of this set, there was no substantial changes through 201 through 206. Moving to 202, this is school board officers. The purpose of this policy, the school board officers are charged with the duty of carrying out the responsibilities entrusted to them for the care, management, and control of the public schools of the school district. The purpose of this policy is to delineate those responsibilities.
Any questions from the board? Yep.
Next one is 203. This is titled Operation of the School Board Governing Rules. The purpose of this policy is to provide governing rules for the conduct of meetings of the school board.
Again, any questions from the board or discussion? Okay, thank you.
Hearing none. We'll go to 203.1. This is School Board Procedures, Rules of Order. The purpose of this policy is to provide specific rules of order to conduct meetings of the school board. And I should just note that in here, the adoption of this policy does not bind the school board to follow these rules of order. There are strong suggestions, of course, but the board may define their own rules of order.
Questions or commentary from the board? Okay, moving on.
The next one is 203.2, Order of the Regular School Board Meeting. The purpose of this policy is to ensure consistency in the order of business at regular school board meetings. And again, this one does provide some flexibility to the board It does state an order, but it also has a catch-all phrase: the school board will, at all regular school board meetings, follow an agenda order similar to ...
Discussion from the board. Okay, thank you.
Next, 206, and this is the last one of this set for review every 3 years. Public participation in school board meetings / complaints about persons at school board meetings and data privacy considerations. The purpose, there's two purposes to this policy. First, the school board recognizes the value of participation by the public in deliberations and decisions on school district matters. At the same time, the school board recognizes the importance of conducting orderly and efficient proceedings with opportunity for expression of all participants' respective views. Secondly, the purpose of this policy is to provide procedures to assure open and orderly public discussion, as well as to protect the due process and privacy rights of individuals under the law. And of course, this policy was heavily discussed in many districts during the COVID era, especially when opportunities to participate were somewhat limited.
Discussion from the... Okay.
All right, then we move to the last two for tonight. And these were updates from MSBA, and they were in limbo for some time, specifically because of the SRO legislation, which now seems to be completed and in its finality. So the first one is policy number 507, corporal punishment and prone restraint. The purpose of this policy is to describe limitations on the use of corporal punishment and prone restraint upon a student. Of course, not only SROs are subject to this, but all district employees and personnel working with students are subject to this. But it was, again, in the news quite a bit because of SRO issues.
Discussion from the board. Okay, thank you.
And then the last one is 507.5, and this one is specifically titled School Resource Officers, or SROs. The purpose of this policy is to establish the contractual duties and training requirements of a school resource officer. This policy was heavily revised in light of Minnesota Statute 120A.05, specifically subdivisions 9, 11, and 13, which help to define the contractual duties and training requirements of an SRO.
Discussion from the board. So these policies, while it may seem that we're going through them rather rapidly, we do have 3 board members that sit on policy committee. We have visited these in excruciating detail for many months now. Many of these are statutory requirements and are model policies verbatim coming from the Minnesota School Boards Association. So we don't really have a lot of freedom, according to what our lawyers tell us, to deviate from those policies. So we do have 10 policies before us, and we have an action item for that.
Seconded.
Moved by Jeff Hegle, seconded by Jamie Sieben, to approve the policies as presented. 522, 522 addendum, 201, 202, 203, 203.1, 203.2, 206, 507, and 507.5. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. And the policies pass 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Danaker.
Thank you.
Any additional comments or discussion from the board before we adjourn? Finding none, we are adjourned at 7:27. We will reconvene at 7:30 for work session. We are in adjournment. Thank you.